Alright, so this is my review for episodes 5 of A Game of Thrones. I'm going to kind of skim over 3 and 4, and I apologize because I haven't gotten to those in time. But this is going to be kind of a little skim over with 3 and 4, and mostly me talking about episode 5. So, you know my routine. If you don't want to get spoiled, you might want to get off now. Okay, episode 5 last night. God damn. It was a bloodbath. I mean, things were just going crazy on there. But, oh man, I really want to talk about that, but I kind of need to skim over 3 and 4 real quick before I get into that. And I do mean skimming over. I'm not going to really talk about anything in depth. As far as it goes with Jon on the wall, we already see him arrive there, and everybody hates him. And we get the idea not just from Benjen, not just because he's a bastard, but because he's a privileged bastard. Especially when the guy that's in charge of the training exercises out there puts him up against all the others, and just further mocks him for how good he is. And, you know, Benjen points out, you know, hey, you were a lot more fortunate than some of these guys were. They were orphans. They didn't have dads that felt sorry for them and took them up. So everything that a man has to do on the wall has to be earned, which is exactly the reason why Benjen shot Jon down for wanting to go out with him and get away from all the persecution that he has going there, and said he has to earn the right to be able to ride out for a while, which is pretty cool. Tyrion, in the meanwhile, has arrived up there with him, and they get to kind of strengthen the friendship a little bit, but soon they have to part ways, which is going to wind up being pretty unfortunate for Tyrion later on when he runs into Catelyn. But I really liked the moments in between Jon and Tyrion. It was good to me, much as it was in the books, but unfortunately, you know, things do have to move along. Bran is recovering well enough, and Tyrion again has to stop by Winterfell because he's come up with a little design of a saddle to which he will give Bran. Bran, as you may remember, was pushed off the wall by Jaime. He's crippled now. But, you know, Tyrion doesn't want him feeling sorry for himself. And this is the thing I love so much about Tyrion. He's the only Lannister that seems to have any kind of heart where it matters. Tyrion knows good people, but, you know, he kind of just rides it off as like, it's nothing. And, you know, he stops by Winterfell and gives designs for a saddle that would enable Bran to actually be able to ride a horse around somewhere, so he doesn't want him being an entirely useless cripple, which is really awesome about that character. It's kind of a side note on Bran too. We had old Nan, who was sort of the woman that was watching him, start telling a little bit of the backstory on a lot of the Whites, or the White Walkers, which we caught a glimpse of in the first episode. And we get a little bit of the back history of some of the races right there. Unfortunately, we don't get it entirely before she's interrupted by somebody coming and looking for young Stark. But, you know, it was kind of cool hearing that on the show. Very reminiscent of the book. It's nice to know that the writers of the show have not forgotten about the fans entirely. And this, as I say that, this will be something that comes to play later on in this review when I talk about some things that take place in the show that were not in the books. Across the sea, narrow sea, meanwhile, we have Daenerys Targaryen. She is earning the further hatred of her brother, Viserys, or however you pronounce that little prissy's name. And she's earned Jorah Mormont's respect, which is kind of cool because she's standing up to her brother. They come to realize real quick that, you know, man, this king that we wanted to restore the Targaryen name to glory, it ain't going to happen. And especially when twice now Viserys was raised in arms against his sister. Once he had the Dothraki riders ride in and make him look like a little bitch, and then even after he tries attacking Daenerys in episode 4 in her tent, she goes and strikes back at him. I think it was for the first time that she ever done it, and says that if he ever lays a hand on her, it'll be the last time he does because he won't have any more hands, which is very cool. I'm starting to see a little more performance come out of this actress who plays Daenerys as well, which is kind of nice. As far as it goes with Catelyn, she is riding off to King's Landing now, and Littlefinger is providing meetings in secret with her husband at the local brothel, and she's concerned about getting to the bottom of what happened with Jaime, and she feels the Lannisters are responsible. She rides off to, I think she started riding off back somewhere towards Winterfell, and, you know, unfortunately her and Tyrion had the misfortune of running into each other, and she has them captured. And Ned is taking part in the council now, and he's making king decisions, and he's doing further digging back into the mysterious death of Jon Arryn, the Hand before him. Whew. That's a lot just catching up right there. Now on to episode 5. Let me resume the appearance that I had a moment ago. God damn, was this episode awesome. Alright, we start really getting a lot of the bloodbaths built up in this. This is more of a, I mean, it's plot driven, but we also have more action taking place in this episode than we've had in any other. Blood, motherfucking blood. Blood raining from a lacerated sky in this episode everywhere. We have kind of a tourney, a jousting tournament that's taking place in King's Landing right now. We got introduced to the Hound a couple of episodes ago. Now we get his brother Gregor Clegane, the Mountain. He went and rode down some knight whose name I don't remember. He's disposable. Wound up getting a lance stuck in his throat, and he's going to have another turn up again this time as we get introduced to Loras Tyrell, the Knight of Flowers. He kind of uses some trickery to throw off the Mountain's horse, and he winds up, the Mountain winds up getting knocked down off his horse, and he's going to come after Loras now. Loras is standing there bowing to the king, standing there in front of King Robert, and Sansa is watching him. He stopped and gave a rose to Sansa too while it was at it. And this is kind of an appearance that's actually going to have an ulterior motive in a few moments. We get this really kick-ass fight scene in between, well, Gregor gets a sword because he wants to cut down Loras. He goes and takes a swing at him, and of all fucking things, the Hound rushes in to his aid. So now we got the two brothers sword fighting with each other. What happened before that, though, is Gregor got pissed and took his sword. And this is actually the first time I've seen a horse decapitated on television. He just took that sword around. It was awesome. Wasn't really awesome for the horse, though. But then we get a sword fight between the two brothers. It lasts for all of about 2 minutes. And then Robert says, "Enough of this madness!" And just as soon as he spoke, Gregor took a swing at his brother's head, and Sandor went and hit the ground in a kneel. And that kneel actually saved his life because the Hound came about a cunt hair from taking his head off. And to the ladies that are watching, I apologize for my language, but this was still awesome enough. That was awesome. We're also getting a lot bigger into the dissension between Robert Baratheon and Ned Stark now. Ned, while he's trying to look out for his friend, finds that this man is not the person that he once served with. This comes especially as a shocker throughout this. We thought there was going to be some shit hitting the fan because a writer of the Black rode up and warned that Catelyn had captured Tyrion, and Eddard thinks, "Oh shit, I'm in trouble now," and he goes off to the council meeting, and the king's there. Nothing's ever brought up about that in between those two. The big reveal about this is that somehow they found out that Daenerys is pregnant. The thing that kind of threw this off with me now is because that we've had a huge twist from the books that's brought out right in the 5th episode of the 1st season. What's up? They go ahead and say that Jorah Mormont is the traitor, or is a traitor to Daenerys. So, I mean, they just took a huge plot point that could have been good on down the road and just threw it out right there. While I'm talking about this, episode 5, the Targaryen girl is not seen in this, nor do we have a point of view from the wall at this time. The only thing I forgot to mention from episode 4 is that Samuel Tarly was introduced. Good job by the guy that played him, though. But anyway, back to the matter at hand. Rewind. What was it? Oh, yeah. Daenerys is pregnant, and Robert Baratheon has this huge fear building inside him that the Dothraki army would actually cross the Narrow Sea. Eddard's kind of riding it off and said, "No, we got to go over there and kill the bitch now." And this was so much to a point that he had Varys and Littlefinger and the rest of the council entirely backing his claim. Ned renounces his position as the Hand. So this is a different turn of events, which is something else that I'll also bring up later towards the end of this review. And he goes to see Littlefinger, and then we get a huge confrontation in between Jaime and Ned, now because Jaime found out that Tyrion has been taken. And we have like this huge battle that takes place. A lot of the Kingsguard show up, kill a lot of the fellows that was standing right there with Ned outside of Littlefinger's whorehouse. You know, two guys take some spears to their chests. Jorah, who was with Ned, gets a knife stabbed through his eye by Jaime, and then the shit that was building up to Jaime and Ned go one-on-one in a sword fight, but unfortunately it winds up with some interference by one of the guards that we don't get to see what would have been the outcome of that fight, because Ned was doing pretty damn good at holding his own, and Jaime was having some trouble with him. Excuse me, so we're going to see what's really going to come of that. Arya, meanwhile, actually warned her father before the fight took place in between Jaime and Ned that she overheard that some guys are getting suspicious about her, and she actually overhears Varys talking with another guy in the dungeon while she was doing some Syrio guy whose last name I can't remember, sword training. She's chasing a cat right now. And we're skimming over this very quickly in the first episodes, which is good because I don't want it getting stale. Sansa is not really seen in this episode, though I'm not really complaining. She was seen at the first part of it, but I'm not really complaining about not seeing her throughout the rest of this episode since I don't like her character. Catelyn, meanwhile, is riding with Tyrion. They're ambushed by some guys, and Tyrion winds up saving the Queen's life. This still doesn't delay the suspicions, although he doesn't ride in bonds anymore, as they go to the home of the Eyrie, which is the home of Jon Arryn's wife, and I think Robert Arryn, I think his name was, her little boy. We get up there, and Tyrion warned ahead of time that Lysa is not as Lysa is not as Kate remembered her back then. Excuse me. And the big reason about this is that Jon Arryn's death drove her mad. Like, she was already a little bit crazy beforehand, but Jon Arryn's death actually just drove her batshit insane. If you want to know how batshit insane I'm talking about, they came there and showed her 8-year-old son still breastfeeding while she was sitting on the throne. Excuse me. I have a little bit of a cold. But, you know, that's the problem right there. If a woman's 8-year-old son is still sucking milk off of her titty, then I don't know what more of a problem you could have then. And they kind of come up what to do with Tyrion. They throw him in a dungeon. And Kate and Lysa are going to have words, it looks, from the next episode about what to do with Tyrion. Because since Jon Arryn's death, Lysa's batshit insane and just thinks all Lannisters are evil. But even more so to an extreme than most people do. The dungeons at the Eyrie are really awesome because Tyrion is put in this dungeon. But the catch is that this keep is so high up in the mountains that the dungeons are actually built out into the sides. I think they call them moon rooms in the books because the reason is there's open sky, there's no bars keeping you from falling out. The edge of the castle is right here. This is the cliff going down. He has maybe about 5 feet of room in that dungeon. And he's got to be careful, because if he sleeps, he might roll over and he might roll out. And it's like, well, ain't nothing we can do about that. So Tyrion's kind of fucked right now. I think it's going to be kind of nice to see how he fucks back to Lysa after she's done him like this. And we also got introduced to Bronn, who will be a sellsword that sort of becomes a partner to Tyrion in later on episodes. And I really like the banter back and forth in between them. We got a lot of blood happening in this too, and while at the same time, the other thing I forgot to mention too, when the battles were taking place, I saw a lot of deaths that were described in books before that were taking place. I saw my first horse get decapitated in this. I saw the first time somebody got a damn knife driven through their eye, and I also saw for the first time on TV a dwarf take a man's shield, knock him down with it, and then poke him to death with the pointy end in the face, killing him. I mean, Tyrion ain't nothing to fuck around with when he really wants to fight. But you know, a lot of shit happened in this episode. I really loved it. Now, something I talked about a few minutes ago, which I'm going to bring up now. Since episode 3, actually, we've had huge departures from the books. Now, this is going to divide the fans 50-50 on how this plays out. I'm more actually in the favor of them putting in things that weren't in the books, and this is the reason why. Let me talk about this scene, 2 scenes beforehand before I get into this. We have kind of a political banter back and forth in between Varys the Spider and Littlefinger in this, and we also have a moment in between Robert and Cersei, and then we get a huge shocker in here, which is Renly Baratheon was introduced at the start of this episode. He's Robert's brother. And apparently him and Loras Tyrell have a gay attraction going up in between them. I don't recall ever reading about that in the books, but apparently this is something that they're kind of throwing in there. On the one hand, I'm happy that the episodes are unpredictable. Lady Kayla, if you're watching this, there's a reason why I'm saying this, and I'm going to go ahead and address it now. This is much the same way with True Blood. If the episodes of the show stayed too much to the books, this would be a very boring show. And the reason is, if something is too much like a book, it's going to get to where it's boring and I can't bear to watch it. Which is why I'm glad True Blood, which are based off of Charlene Harris's books, actually departed as radically as it did from a lot of the source material. And I still thought it was a pretty good show. Plus, we get these other characters who did not have points of view in all 4 of the books, which are now starting to become fleshed out and become characters of their own that we'll want to keep up with later on in the series, should it get renewed for second and third seasons. But the part about Loras Tyrell I was kind of thrown off about. I have nothing against them throwing out gay stuff in here, but the fact of the matter is just like I didn't see it coming. So I don't know. Hopefully this show doesn't get so convoluted to where it starts turning into True Blood, which a lot of homosexual rights are its message. But I still think this was a terrific episode and all. I've probably prattled on for about 15 minutes now, who knows. But, you know, this was a terrific episode. I'm really looking forward to what's going to happen next. I was a little disappointed that we didn't have Jon Snow or Daenerys even show up in this episode, but it looks like good things will come. That little payoff about Viserys that I was looking for, it might be very close in the next episode, and I've been waiting 6 weeks to see this because that's one of my favorite parts from the Game of Thrones books, and it's really going to look awesome. And I think after that point we might have another character along with Dany introduced there. I'm not going to say who at this time, but yeah, last night's episode, god damn, it was magnificent. And I really look forward to seeing what the rest of the season has to offer after this. So, until next time, I will catch you guys later on. Peace.